Everybody, Phil here with Carcraft Classics. We're located at 321 Canton Road, Cumming, Georgia 30040. Shop number is 470-239-4977. Our email is carcraftclassics@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit us on the web at carcraftclassics.com. Today we've got a really cool classic Corvette to show you. It's a 1981 model, sporting 52,000 original miles, original paint, original interior, original drivetrain. We've got a survivor here is what we have. It belongs to a customer of ours. His name is Bob, and you guys may remember a couple videos back we had a red 1980 Camaro Z28, and that car was also owned by Bob. He's kind of liquidating his collection, and what he specializes in is the original stuff. You know, just like that Camaro Z28, this car is about 98% original, minus some maintenance items like shocks and tires, and the front end was rebuilt. We recently flushed out the fuel system. We want to make sure the lights and the brakes were all in operational condition, and it did need a caliper, I think, on the passenger side front. But again, other than those maintenance items, you're staring at a third generation Corvette that's in basically original factory condition. It's not every day you find one with the original paint. And one of the most desirable combos, nonetheless. This is the black with the red interior. We'll get to showing you that a little bit later, but here she is. So Bob is somewhat of a hot rod historian, our customer. He worked for General Electric for many, many years, and while he was there, he worked closely on occasion with the guys over at GM. And he got to see a lot of the new models before they ever hit the road. A lot of the new engine components as GM went through their high horsepower days. He saw some of that stuff before it ever hit the pavement. So somewhat of hot rod royalty. And he is accessible. I know this car may appeal to the hard and fast Corvette collector, and I want to let you know Bob is available for comment if you guys want to pick his brain. Again, he's owned the car since 1984, and he knows quite a bit about it, of course. Let's see, how did Bob get the car? Let's touch on that. In 1984, Bob had mentioned to a neighbor that worked at a bank, I think that's how the story goes, that he was looking for a Corvette, and that banker, over the course of the next couple weeks, kept his eye out and found this Corvette. And I guess the person that originally bought it defaulted on the loan. The car became available. He called Bob. One thing led to another, and now Bob has himself the Corvette that he's looking for. And he's enjoyed the car quite a bit, but he's kept the miles down, and now it's up for sale. So let's take a closer look at this cool original Corvette. It's equipped with the L81 350 cubic inch V8 motor. And again, what you're going to find that the car is almost all original. I believe that alternator's been upgraded, but even the brake booster and everything showing its age. I mean, quite a time capsule, this thing. Super, super cool. Okay. So yes, 350 cubic inch V8. I think it came from the factory back then with 190 horsepower. But somehow, maybe just because the power to weight ratio, these cars always felt like they were faster or had more power than they actually did. And Bob and I spoke for a long time about this car. I have a lot of information to share with you. And one of the things he said was that this car had an upgraded suspension package from General Motors that the Corvette collectors out there would know the name. I have it written on a piece of paper over there. I'll tell you in a moment. But he just was going on and on about taking this thing through the mountains and how much fun it was and how it had plenty of power, but handled like, like a Corvette's supposed to. And he's really enjoyed the car over the years. I don't think it's been literally on the road for probably the past 10 years. But again, Bob is the second owner. and he's had it since 1984, and he's kept every receipt for any maintenance he's done. I've got every registration receipt, and I've got something you Corvette collectors are really going to like. It's like a, for GM eyes only, spec sheet, or booklet I should say, on this car. So as far as condition, you know, like you find with any survivors, the paint is showing its age. But as you know, with the Corvettes, the big worry is how's the condition of the body. And Bob kept this thing stored indoors forever, and the body is in excellent pin straight condition. Yes, it has chips and nicks and scratches all over it. The paint is original, as I mentioned. But if you're one of those guys that likes the originality, the car can be left as is and enjoyed. It runs down the road right now. If you're a guy that wants to make this into a show car, it needs a paint job. But there won't be much body work, because like I said, the fiberglass body's in excellent shape. I absolutely love these C3 Corvettes. I'm 51 years old, and I dreamt about driving these cars when I was younger. Did have one rich buddy who had one in tan, with the tan interior. Wasn't half as cool as this one. That color combo is super nice, black with the red interior. But anyway, let's talk about this documentation, because it's going to mean a lot to the Corvette collector if you are watching this video. So Bob contacted his friends over at GM when he bought this car and asked for as much information as he could get, and boy, they did supply him with some stuff. So there you go, that's where it came from. General Motors Corporation up in Troy, Michigan. And let me run down some of the things really quickly that Bob told me about the car, that I want to share with all of you guys. Okay, really quickly. Let's see. This car was built in the St. Louis plant before it closed. Okay, the St. Louis General Motors plant was where the Corvette started in 1953, where it was originally built before they moved it in the 80s, I believe, to, for the C4 Corvette. I think they moved it to Bowling Green. So there's some nostalgia there that this one was indeed built at one of those older original plants that I think closed down in August of '82. This car does have the single stage lacquer paint. The car has been in no accidents. Again, as I mentioned before, it was bought original in New York in 1984. Bob picked it up. Let's see, told you about the L81, 8-5 compression, 190 horse. Engine has never been apart, which is kind of unusual for Bob, because he's a horsepower guy, and but this one he never cracked. It's never been apart, as I mentioned. It is a 4-speed. It's the Super T10 Borg-Warner transmission, and Bob had mentioned that, you know, that transmission a lot of times was used for the big block cars, and this being a small block car is a little unusual. He said that it's got the Super T10 in it. And that suspension I mentioned to you before, that's unique, or an upgrade for the Corvettes of the era, it's called the Gymkhana heavy duty suspension, and this car does indeed have that. So that's another thing that makes this car a little bit more rare or unique. Now let's move on here. Let me show you some of these things, and hopefully you can see that on the video. But this looks like it also came from the Chevrolet Motor Division, General Motors Building, Detroit number 2 in Michigan. This is just information about the history. Now I'm not going to go over every little bit, but I want to just show you guys what we have here. So this is one of those spec sheets that Bob had mentioned is kind of GM eyes only, and not in just, you know, general circulation. So for the collectors out there, keep in mind that some of this rare information that came from GM back in the day will be sold with the vehicle. All right, here's another one. And again, these booklets have all the specs, the optional equipment, and this came out before the car was released. Power teams, let's see, all kinds of information about the drivetrain, the fuel economy. And now we're getting into some of those spec sheets that, again, I believe were not really available to the public. I know that's something that Corvette guys will love. My experience with the Corvette community is that those guys are more about originality and the history of the vehicles more than most. So anyway, don't want to bore you too long with those details, but kind of cool that that comes with it. All right, so let's get back to the vehicle here. Again, 350 V8 up front, 4-speed manual transmission, heavy duty rear end, heavy duty suspension. We pulled it out of the garage. It hadn't been run in years. As I mentioned before, we went through the fuel system, went through the brakes, the lights, and yes, the headlights do pop up. They're still on the vacuum system, and it does work. You'll hear as we get in the car, even the clock is working. It is an AC car. AC is not blowing cold, but it is blowing. I'm guessing it needs a charge. Super, super cool. Absolutely love it. And I know there's some shadows here and you can't really pick up on the car, you know, the image too well with the video. But as always, as I always do, I'll get you some still shots and make sure it's nice and clear. Those still shots from as many angles as possible. And we'll even throw it on the lift and get it up in the air for you guys. Awesome car. I've driven it quite a bit since it's been at the shop, and I don't know that I have something that's as fun to drive. That 4-speed, the V8. Car feels like it weighs nothing. The T-tops, rock and roll in the stereo. What more can you ask for? All right. There you go. Show you guys. Took one of the T-tops off so you could just kind of take a peek at it. Well, here's that blood red, beautiful interior. Excuse the sniffles, but it's freezing cold here. Again, I apologize for the shadows. Leather seems to be in great shape. Put a little conditioner on it, mink oil, and product that we have here that we use just to bring it back a little bit. It's not really a product that restores the leather completely, just kind of lubricates it a little bit. If you listen real closely, you can hear that clock ticking, baby. Awesome. So again, the interior on these old Corvettes are unmistakable. I mean, I don't know too many cars that have a cockpit like this. Just super awesome. Again, power steering, disc brake, AC, T-top car. Let me see. Let me fire this sucker up so you can hear it. Maybe take it around the parking lot. Gearbox is nice and smooth. Radio works. Feel like it's 1981 all over again. All right. So as you can see, the tach is working. Speedo does work. All the gauges work. Gauge cluster in the center here. Everything is working. Heard the stereo. I mentioned the AC. I'm sure it's leaked down. May need a compressor. We can handle any of that for you, but I'm not going to start pulling parts off this car because it is so original. We'll allow the buyer to tell us what they do or don't want done to the car, but we can certainly help if you wanted us to go through the AC, etc. Super cool though. Anyway, choke works. As you can hear, the RPMs come down after a little tap on the pedal. Let's turn this radio off so you guys can hear it. A lot of guys don't know, but this car, as Bob pointed out, doesn't really have true dual exhaust. You know, of course, it's dual coming off the manifolds, but the way Corvette designed it, or GM designed it back in the day, it does come together underneath the car in what he called a Y pipe, and then it separates out, I believe, to two separate exhaust pipes, or goes into the muffler before it separates out to two exit pipes. But still sounds really, really good, and I absolutely love it. The view in this cockpit, just awesome. All right, let's go for a ride. See if I can do this. The manual transmission probably won't even get out of first gear, so I think I'll be okay. Let's take it around the parking lot so you guys can hear it run. I think I might want to drive it home tonight. It's so cool. And by the way, I'll show you those headlights. They are working and going up and down, as you guys can see. Hopefully you can, yeah, there you go. See that? That's amazing. If you know anything about Corvettes, you know that those vacuum actuated headlights almost never work. Let's go around that parking lot again. Is that Speedo working? Of course, bouncing like they always did back then. Man, I love this thing. Yeah. I know what Bob's talking about when he tells me stories about driving this through the mountains, the Adirondacks, and the twisties, and having fun. All right. Door panels in excellent shape. Interior overall is in really, really good shape. Seats aren't torn. You know, of course, it's showing its age. Heck, just like I am. But again, the originality is super cool, and something you don't find too often. You know, a lot of these cars have been restored, and they're only original once. So there you go. Take a look at the trunk area. It's that 3-ring binder with all that information. Again, that comes with the car. So there she is. And the other thing is, there's some scuffs on the car that look like maybe marks from things sitting on the car. I think when I first picked it up at Bob's house, I think they had a cover over it. And some of that will, you know, come out with the high-speed buffer. I don't want to put that on there yet because of, you know, the originality of the car, and we'll allow the buyer to dictate, you know, if they would like us to cut and buff the whole car, we can do that, or it can be sold as is. What else comes with the car? I think I have a what we called back in the 80s a bra for the front end of the car, a little front end protectant, you know, a little vinyl cover that goes over the front end that back in the 80s did more damage than it did good, but it looks cool and everybody wanted one, so we've got one of those that come with the car. And what the heck, we'll throw in the other T-top as well. Want to thank everybody for watching this video. If you have any questions, again, you have all my contact info at the beginning of the video, and then my cell is 770-317-1415. If you're in the market for an, you know, all original 1981 C3 Corvette with all this cool documentation that comes along with it, please give me a call. The asking price on this vehicle is going to be $13,900. My cell, again, 770-317-1415. Give me a holler if you have any questions or if you want to schedule a test drive. And remember, we can handle, you know, we can help you, I should say, with things like customization. Let's say you want to change the wheels, or you want me to go through the AC. system. You know, we can do all that here. One of the things that kind of separates us from some of the other classic car shops. We can get some things done, mechanical upgrades, etc. So just let me know. The other thing I want to mention is that we can help with shipping and financing as well. So again, just give me a holler, 770-317-1415. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to help. Thank you so much for watching the video, and God bless America.